Taylor, doing great. It's another beautiful week. Volleyball preseason is here, so we are ready to break it down for you. We're going to have Josh Cook call in, VYPE managing editor of this beautiful magazine, which you can go find and order right now on shopvype.com. You have Logan Lednecki, Casey Batenhorst, Kirsten McFall, Morgan Perkins, and Ava Underwood, all on the cover, so go check out your copy of VYPE magazine. But it's the rankings, so we are here to break it down for you, not only in Houston, but across the entire state of Texas.
You heard it first. So I'm going to turn it over to Josh, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about the specifics about how these rankings are go down. Josh?
Sorry, I was on mute. Scott, your penchant for mute is rubbing off on me. I fear so.
I know, man, right?
but no.
Right.
So the way that these rankings are going to work is we're going to do Houston as one ranking. We're going to do Austin and San Antonio as one ranking, and we're going to do DFW as one ranking. And the way we're going to break it down, we're going to break it down by some classifications. So one ranking will be 5A and 6A together. One ranking will be 1A through 4A together, and then one ranking will be private school together. There's going to be some disagreements on how we rank things, and I think that's fair. I think when you look at 5A and 6A, there's going to be some arguments that, well, if this team in 5A played this team in 6A, they'd beat them. If you looked at it, same with 1A through 4A. But we're trying. We got a lot of rankings to get to cover the whole state of Texas, and so it's probably the easiest way to do it. So that's how we're doing it, and I'm excited to get to these rankings and really show everyone who we feel are start this season off. Who are the teams you should be watching, and who we ranked in the top 10.
For sure. There's, like always, going to be a little controversy, but that's a good thing. And we're going to...
Yeah, and if there's controversy, let us know where you think we messed up. If we think we should have one team higher than the other, comment below. I mean, we got the chat section up here. We are watching it live on our YouTube page, so if you're listening to the after or the podcast version, you can always check us out live. We're going to try to be live around 12 o'clock. Hopefully every single day.
Yeah.
We're going to have a killer fall lineup coming, and Taylor's going to be here for a lot of it. Taylor, we're so glad that you are joining us this fall.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and this is my first month getting into it, and it's just exciting times, not only for me, but for football and volleyball. So do you want to just get right down to these rankings?
I think we should dive right into it. Absolutely.
Let's start with Houston, and we're going to start in the 5A, 6A.
And real quick, by the way, we do have Josh Cook.
Josh.
We do have Josh Cook on the phone if you want to ask him his opinions once we get through these rankings.
Okay, beautiful.
Absolutely. Josh is the guy who wrote a lot of this magazine here, him and Dennis Silva II, along with Matt Malatesta here at VYPE. So Josh knows the ins and out of the Houston region for Texas high school volleyball.
All right, perfect. So let's get right to it. So at number 10, we have Magnolia West, 9, Tompkins. At number 8 is Manville. At 7 is George Ranch. 6, Barbers Hill. 5 is Friendswood. 4 is Pearland Dawson. At number 3 is Fulshire. And 2, Klein. And your number 1 spot is Seven Lakes. Who wants to take this over? Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start it off, and then we'll throw it over to Josh Cook, if that's okay. Seven Lakes and Klein, 1-2. They're the two teams that played for the state championship, an all-Houston 6A state championship last season, so not really surprising to see 1 and 2. Fulshire at number 3. They played for the 5A state championship last year, fell to Lucas Lovejoy, but they are reloaded and stocked and ready to go. So in my opinion, those are the clear 1, 2, 3 teams in the city of Houston. Josh Cook, are you there, man? What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, if you gotta go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 of Seven Lakes, Klein, and Fulshire is not a bad run. It's not a bad lineup to have, for sure. Like you mentioned, Seven Lakes and Klein played for the state championship last year as an all-Houston state championship. Of course, Seven Lakes won it all, powered by the Gatorade National Player of the Year, Allie Badenhorst, who's now at Nebraska. So Seven Lakes will have to replace her, and some people might say, well, Seven Lakes loses her, why are they still number 1? Well, Alabama's still number 1 every year after they win the national championship, even though they lose their players. And so coming in, Seven Lakes has earned that right to be the number 1 team in the city of Houston Of course, they bring back her sister, Casey Badenhorst, who's an SMU commit. She'll lead this team this season, and then they'll have some other pieces. Mia Blum, who's actually the daughter of Astros broadcaster Jeff Blum. So got a little pro baseball player connection there. Grace Lanier is back for Seven Lakes as well. So Seven Lakes is going to piece it together. They're going to have to find the offense to replace Allie Badenhorst, which is hard to do. Klein's got some pieces this year as well. Of course, Kirsten McFall is going to lead that crew. Ariana Brown led the team in kills last year. She's going to be a big player to watch. Of course, McFall's committed to North Florida. They will be without Gabby Mansfield this season. She had a family situation she tweeted about the other day, so she will not be with Klein this season. It's kind of a loss for Klein. She's committed to Rice University. She averaged 6.3 digs per set, so defensively they're going to have to find somebody to step in for Gabby. And then you look at Fulshire. Fulshire up and down is absolutely loaded. Once again, won the Class 4A state championship 2 years ago, played for the Class 5A state championship last year against Lucas Lovejoy, like you mentioned. Lovejoy, of course, I think he's won like 9 or 10 state championships to this point, and they're a powerhouse. They lost to Kingwood Park a few years ago. They come back for vengeance against Fulshire last year. Of course, Fulshire's got Ava Underwood, who's going to Texas A&M. Skylar Law School is there. Brielle Warren led the team in kills last year. Her little sister, Bailey Warren, comes up to join the team this year. A good, solid freshman class comes in. So you could toss it up between Seven Lakes, Klein, and Fulshire. That top three is very solid here in the city of Houston.
For sure. One of the other 6A teams that I personally like, Josh, is George Ranch. I think they have a ton of talent. Logan Lednecki on the cover of VYPE magazine, committed to Texas A&M. Baylor commits, Pepperdine commits. I mean, they're all over the place. So do you like, or what are some teams you like in 6A? And then who's another 5A school that you like? Because I see Barbers Hill and Friendswood on this list as well.
Yeah, like you mentioned, George Ranch on paper has everything that you would want a team to have. They have 3 big Division I commits. They've got Logan Lednicki, who's going to Texas A&M. They've got Avery Shematis. They've got Alex Schecht. It's 3 big-time D1 commits. And you see that on any volleyball team, you have to be very excited. They have to get over the hump and make a run in the playoffs now. They have the pieces to do it. Now the question is, can they do it this season? Other solid teams, Friendswood, like you mentioned, Friendswood is always up and down one of the better 5A teams in the city of Houston. They've been consistently good. They do have to replace some big pieces in Ashlyn Sabota from last year, Alessandra Leone from last year as well. They do have pieces back. Sarah Sidden comes back this season. Big arm for her, 2.6 kills per set. Sierra Pesek is back for them as well. Kate Boucher is going to be a big piece for them defensively. So Friendswood is going to contend right there with Fulshire. I mean, you wouldn't be surprised if you see Friendswood, Fulshire regional final, or a Barbers Hill is going to be up there as well. The 5A ranks. Other 6A teams, Fairleigh Dawson is always good. They returned 5 starters from last season. Lauren left and her first season of leading this team. They were regional semifinalists a year ago. Of course, they're led by Kylie Nance, Cameron Scroggins, Elena Torres. So Fairleigh Dawson is loaded. And then Deer Park. Deer Park is always that pesky 6A team that never goes away. Year in, year out, Courtney Cox always reloads that team. They're a perennial playoff team. They had 2 freshmen last year that won district awards, which makes you very excited for the future of that program. I mean, one of them was Tatum Bush, who was the district offensive MVP last year as a freshman with 247 kills. So that's another team to watch. And of course, everyone's very excited about Tompkins. A lot of people think, even Dennis Silva, he thinks Tompkins can make a run this year. They were young last year. They've got the pieces. They actually defeated Seven Lakes last year in district play. Now, granted, that was after Seven Lakes had to be out for like 2-3 weeks due to COVID, and they had to come back and play like 7 matches in 5 days. And I think the Tompkins match was kind of on the back end of that 7-match, 5-day run. But they did get the state champs last year in district. So that'll be another team to watch. Bridgeland Bears are good as well. We got a lot of talent over there at Bridgeland. So, I mean, CIT, it's loaded again. It is absolutely loaded again in the city of Houston.
That's right. And we're so pumped about it because the volleyball preseason tournaments, they're about to go down. That's why we're breaking down these preseason rankings for us, because we want to give you the most up-to-date stuff as we can. Taylor, what you got?
For sure. Josh, while we have you on the phone, we want to hear your thoughts about Houston 4A teams and below and private schools. What are those teams we should watch out for, and what are your thoughts about them?
When you go down to 4A, I mean, Meadville is the team to watch down in 4A. This is a team that, they won a state title back in 2017. They were state runners-up in 2018. The regional finals last year. They are built to win at Meadville over and over and over. I mean, Meadville, the Lady Jays are definitely a team to watch. Ashley Botchick is there. Kayla Kozik is there. They combined to average 4.2 kills per set last year. So Meadville is definitely a 4A team to watch. When you get down to the private schools, this is where, this year I decided, we're going to shake up private schools. We're going to shake up private school rankings. I think the time has come. St. Agnes Academy came in as the #1 team for VYPE. They were state finalists last year. They were state champs the year before. They'd always been kind of #2, #3, and it was finally time for the Tigers to take the #1 spot. They do have to replace some big pieces in Toyosi and Banjo, who went to Iowa last year. So they have to replace her, but they always find players to replace them. The team that we put second was Concordia Lutheran, and the Crusaders, I mean, we talk about Sky, we talk about George Ranch being loaded. Concordia Lutheran is loaded once again. I mean, they have to replace Brooke Frazier, who's now at Texas A&M playing for the Aggies. But they have Sydney Whitfield back. They have Anna Schatz back. They have Sophia King, who's coming to Baylor. And Keenan looks like the preseason player of the year for Concordia Lutheran. Fulton Christian Academy has the pieces. Bailey Hanner is a big hitter for them. Avery Hodge, who is actually an all-state volleyball player, but she's also a USA softball player. She's actually playing for USA softball this summer. She'll play for them in December as well. She's coming to Oklahoma to play softball. Fulton Christian Academy could be really good as well. Pitt School is always a favorite in SEC. John Cooper School is going to be really good in SEC as well. I might have slept a little bit on the Dragons of John Cooper School. They bring back a lot of pieces. I'm just excited to see a full SBC season this year, which hopefully will end with a tournament and then a champion of SBC.
That's right, man. Houston loaded with some volleyball
loaded
talent from top to bottom, 6A to 1A, all the way to the private school ranks. It's going to be a ton of fun to watch.
It's going to be awesome. And Josh, thank you so much for joining us. And all your insight was spot on. Josh, did you want to add something?
Yeah. Hey, Josh, before we go, I know that Houston is doing some extended rankings. Do you want to tell people kind of when and where they may be able to find those throughout the season?
Yeah, so you'll find those on our website, VYPE.com, throughout the season. We're looking at probably doing those every Wednesday. I think those will come out. So every Wednesday you can look for brand new rankings. We like to do it after a Tuesday, kind of get a Tuesday, Thursday combo. And, of course, we'll get the tournaments in this weekend. So you try to look for a new ranking coming out next Wednesday on VYPE.com.
That's great. That means you can come tune into our show on Tuesday, and then Wednesday you get the extended rankings online. Hey, Josh, thanks for coming on, and hey, maybe we'll get you in studio here going forward throughout the season.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Awesome. Glad he could join us. He gave us a lot of insight.
He really is. Josh is very knowledgeable about football, like I said, or about volleyball and football. Put together this great magazine because there's a lot that goes into these magazines. A lot of discussion internally about, especially when it comes to the rankings and whatnot, where to put teams, who's coming back. That's one great thing about these photo shoots, having the kids come out there. You get to see with them, talk to them, interact with them, get a feel of what their expectations are as well. So, and there's always that one sleeper team. Like we mentioned last year, Seven Lakes was number 7 in our preseason rankings for the city of Houston. Then they go on and win the state championship. A ton will change throughout the season. These rankings are fluid, but we are super excited for this year.
We are super excited. So
real quick, before we
Josh.
move on to the rankings, I know we talked about 1A through 4A and Houston Private, but Taylor, do you want to just walk us through the top 10 real quick? I know Josh talked about some of them, but that way the viewers at home can hear the names and be proud that they're on the top 10.
Yep, for sure. Okay, let's get right to it. We're going to start with Houston 1A to 4A. At your number 10 spot is Splendoria, 9 Columbus, 8 is Bridge City, 7 is Hardin, 6 Liberty, 5 is Schulenburg, 4 is Huffman Hargrave. 3, East Bernard. 2 is Needville. And at your number 1 spot is Belleville. So that's your top rankings for 1A through 4A. And if we switch over to the private schools for Houston, at your number 10 spot is Bay Area Christian. 9, John Cooper. 8, St. Pius. 7, Northland Christian. 6, Woodlands Christian. 5, Rose Hill Christian. 4, Episcopal. 3, Fort Bend Christian. 2, Concordia Lutheran. And your number 1 spot is St. Agnes.
Which I totally agree with Josh about St. Agnes being number 1. They are the state champs. They have some talent returning as well. They do lose some, but also Concordia Lutheran, number 1, 2. They'll be fighting for the 6A state championship, going deep in the playoffs. One of them is probably going to face Argyle Liberty Christian. And so we'll get to them whenever we do our DFW rankings. FBCA, Fort Bend Christian at the 5A level, they can make some noise. They have a ton of good athletes. Bailey Hanner committed to Texas State. As Josh mentioned, Ashley Hodge, she's an Oklahoma softball commit, currently playing for Team USA. So they got athletes over there. And then Episcopal for SBC. Those are probably your favorites with the 6A, 5A, and then SBC tabs ones. And then going back to Houston 1A through 4A, we do want to preface this. The city of Houston is probably the most spread out cities, and they have so many
Definitely.
6A through, or they just have so many 6A schools. They have a ton of 6A schools and 5A schools. So going through 1 through 4A, we had to branch out a little bit, maybe outside of the city of Houston. So that's why you'll see Belleville in here. But Josh is really big on Needville, justifiably so. They're poised for a state championship run. So Needville versus Belleville, watch out for those two teams.
Watch out, you heard it first. So I think we pretty much covered everything we need to for Houston for today's show. So let's just take it on over. We're going to get to Austin and San Antonio, like Josh said earlier. We put them together. And so we're going to start at 5A and 6A, your top 10. We're going to start at number 10, and it's Floresville. 9 is Alamo Heights. 8 is Lake Travis. 7 is Harlan. 6, O'Connor. 5 is Rouse. 4 is New Braunfels Canyon. 3 is Brandeis. 2, Dripping Springs, and your number 1 spot is Reagan. I'm going to throw it over to Josh and see what he has to say about
The
this.
Hill Country volleyball expert. He just doesn't like it when I call him.
Well, it's because it's not true. Let's be real here. Calling me an expert for that is an insult to those that do know the sport well, and so I don't want to put that title on me.
Hey, Josh.
Yes, what's up, Scott?
Hey, Josh, maybe we can find somebody in the Hill Country who does cover volleyball a little closely. So that's actually what we did with Lethal Enforcer when it came to soccer this last year.
Really?
Yeah, Lethal Enforcer didn't like our soccer rankings, and so he joined us for the shows to break them down. So if there's
There you
anybody
go.
out there who's familiar with this, we'd love to talk to you.
There,
Call in.
there you
in.
go. So I
Or
do
go
the
in the
best
comment section.
I do the best I can with these rankings, and so I think when you really look at it, though, I think there's a few at the top that, I'm going to throw these rankings back up here real quick. You got Reagan, you got Dripping Springs, and you got Brandeis. To me, I think those are the top 3, right? So, Reagan lost to Seven Lakes, the eventual state champion, in the state semis, and Dripping Springs lost to Fulshire in the state semis. So, both of these teams made a deep runs last year, and Brandeis, they lost to Reagan. So it's kind of all right there, where these teams kind of battled to try and get there. And Austin and San Antonio, out of the 3 markets, if you will, I think they were the kind of the, I guess you can say they were the least successful because they didn't win any state titles, but they've got some squads, right? And so it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. But I think these are the 3 teams to watch going into the preseason. We'll see what happens when the regular season starts, but these are my 3 teams you got to really pay attention to. I think you're muted there, guys.
My bad.
There we go with the
That's me.
again.
That's me. Live show, baby. You never know what you're going to get.
Love it. Great points you made there. Let's move on to the 1A through 4A for Austin and San Antonio. Your number 10 spot is going to go to Hondo. 9 is Shiner. 8 is Johnson City. 7 is La Verna. 6 is Thrall. 5 is Divine. 4 is Egram Tomor. 3 is Lexington. 2 is Poth. And number 1 is Wimberley.
Josh, who are a couple teams that stick out to you there?
First off, I'll hey, some of these names are hard. Lavernia, I gotta make sure, hey, they could be watching, so I gotta make sure that we get. No, it's fine, hey,
Sorry, people.
When you get to Texas, you're gonna get some weird names out there, and so, but just gotta show love to Lavernia out there. But I think the teams again, hey, the teams to watch are the teams at the top, right? So I'm gonna throw this back up here one more time. You got Wimberley and you got Poth. So Wimberley, they were the state runner-up last year, and Poth got to the regional finals. They lost to Goliad, who was a state runner-up themselves. So I know these two teams for me are the teams you really just have to pay teams to pay attention to. And yeah, we'll see. Obviously, we'll see what happens when the season gets started. Like I said, for the 5A, 6A. But for me, when you look at the top, I think that's where, for all these rankings, really are the teams you really got to pay attention to. But hey, you never know. Some of these teams that are towards the bottom of the top 10 and even outside, they could surprise you. I mean, look at baseball last year. We had Rouse, right? So that kind of surprised us all. So hey, there's your top 10 for the 1A through 4A for Austin San Antonio.
Love a good underdog. There's always a team that rises above, and it's exciting to watch. That's
It
what I love
is.
about
Yeah, they
sports.
just get momentum, and momentum can help build confidence. And when you get confident in the gym, you feel like you can beat anybody. And that's one thing we love about sports, right?
Yep. Always keeps us on our toes. Let's move to the private schools for San Antonio and Austin. Your number 10 spot is St. Michael's. 9 is Etonian. 8 is San Antonio Christian. 7 is Hallettsville Sacred Heart. 6 is Round Rock Christian. 5 is Hyde Park. 4 is Atonement. 3 is Breakin Christian. 2 is Cornerstone Christian. And your number 1 spot is New Braunfels Christian.
I guess I'll just take it away on this one. I'm the
take it away.
quote-unquote
Take it
expert,
away.
right? Let me get my notes
Exactly.
here. Yeah, so Bracken, state runner-up. They lost to Ovilla Christian, who we'll talk about here later, and Buffalo Christian, TAPS 3A champs. So, to me, if you were the champion last year, you kind of got to be one of the top dogs, right? So, New Braunfels Christian, the 3A champs. Yes, it's 3A, but hey, from the San Antonio area, really the only ones to really kind of shine. So, got to show them the little love there. And like I always say, I'll throw it up there again. Cornerstone Christian, hey, probably maybe one of the great volleyball teams, one of the great athletic programs, but they don't play for a state title, and I got to dock them for that, as bad as that sounds. Now, hey, they could easily move up to the number 1 throughout the season, but come playoffs, come preseason, I got to dock them for that, and as unfair as that may be. So, Scott, do you think I'm wrong for that?
It's definitely controversial. There's no doubt about it. Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely see what you're saying about New Braunfels Christian going out and winning the state champs. If you're number 1, you're number 1 for a reason until you're knocked off. Could they be knocked off? Sure. You never know. That's why we play the game. And New Braunfels, or just really these rankings are interesting because, again, kind of like the 1A through 4A, the different classifications, it can be hard to compare both of them. And so, yeah, not playing for playoffs, though, is just, it's tough. Because, that's when you find out you're made of. The hotter, to quote Robert Griffin III, I'm a Bailey guy, the hotter the heat, the harder the steel, no pressure, no diamonds. So if you're in the playoffs, that's when those crunch time comes up, and that's when you find out what kind of team you are. But if you got the talent, you got the talent as well. So, but I don't fault you for having New Braunfels Christian at number 1. That's what I'm getting at.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Lots of talent here. Let's do it and move on to Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're going to start at 5A and 6A. Here's your top 10 for that. At number 10 is Garland Saxe. 9 is North Forney. 8 is Midlothian. 7 is Denton Geyer. 6 is McKinney North. 5, Byron Nelson. 4 is Grapevine. 3 is VR Eaton. 2, Lucas Lovejoy, and that number 1 is Flower Mound. Who wants to take it away?
Yeah, I'll start off here, Josh, and then we can kind of go back and forth from each other. Lucas Lovejoy at number 2. Interesting. Josh Cook was telling us that they've won a lot of state championships recently. They're the defending 5A state champion. The 5A versus 6A. Flower Mound is 6A. Lucas Lovejoy is 5A. Maybe that's why they're number 2. Maybe they're not. I'm calling it like I see it. But some other really good teams. I like McKinney North as well, coming in at number 6. And then Eaton and Byron Nelson is going to be interesting, I think, because they play in the same district. And whenever you have a tough district, that can prepare you for a deep run in the playoffs. Because if you're thinking, hey, these teams that we're playing right now, they're going to be poised to make a deep run too. And if I can beat these teams, if I can play with these teams, then I can play with anybody. Josh, take it away.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I think there's there's valid arguments if you want to say that Lucas Lovejoy should be number 1, right? So, no arguments right there. So, but we had to make a choice, and hey, maybe this is the pressure, or not the pressure, the motivation Lucas Lovejoy needs to repeat and get back on there. So, and then I think you absolutely nailed it with the VR Eaton and Byron Nelson kind of battling it out. And hey, that's either going to make them stronger, and it's even going to add to the fact that how we're going to rank these teams once we move into the season. They're going to beat each other up. Does that going to affect our rankings? Because hey, having no losses or few losses on your kind of win-loss column is always good to have when we look at rankings. But some of these teams are going to be playing each other, and so we have to take those into account in these rankings. And I think it's really, really obvious that VR Eaton and Byron Nelson are going to be in a tough district because they have to face each other. So it's going to be really exciting to see how those two teams compete once the season starts. But I mean, honestly, Flower Mound and Lucas Lovejoy are the top of the class. And again, hey, as soon as the season starts, we may be flipping those rankings. I think we really went back and forth on who should be number 1, and maybe that 6A bias maybe came through, like you said, Scott. So hey, that's what we got for the 5A 6A for Dallas. I'll turn it back over to you.
Hey, I think it looks pretty good. And again, this
Did
is
we
just
have a
preseason.
backdrop change?
Maybe.
We might have had a backdrop change.
It's an illusion,
I
y'all.
will say,
but our backdrop just
look,
fell. Like
I
Josh
will
did
say-
a great job vamping.
I will say, I don't know. We'll have to go back and watch it, but I think I might have cut away right before it fell on you guys. You could see it
Yeah.
falling.
I
was like, I hope
could
Scott.
hear it.
I hope Scott turns it over to me and so I can cut away. But that was really good.
That was perfect timing. I just saw it. It was like, oh, good.
We're gonna have to check the tape on that. Hey, like we said, live show. You never know what you gotta get.
Action packs, y'all.
Oh
Awesome.
my! We're gonna have that in the end of year reel.
Yeah, we're gonna
or
have
whatever.
a bloopers little segment. That's definitely gonna be the top on there.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that was 5A through 6A.
Okay, we're doing great on time. We're just gonna finish off for Dallas Fort Worth. We're gonna move on to 1A through 4A for Dallas Fort Worth. Your number 10 spot is Stevensville. 9 is Graham. 8 is Boyd. 7 is Peaster. 6 is Argyle. 5 is Farmersville. 4 is Blum. 3 is Gunter. 2, Kennedale. And number 1 spot is Decatur.
Yeah, I don't have as much to add here. It is, Josh, we were kind of talking about this at one point, Taylor, as well. Whenever you see Argyle coming in at number 6, whenever you say the name Argyle, because of their athletic department in general, that just kind of carries a lot of weight. And so seeing them at number 6, I mean, look, they're still in the top 10, right? And again, this is 1A through 4A. But Decatur, if you go to VYPE.com, look at Shannon Williford's article, did a great job. She dropped her DFW volleyball rankings. Decatur is the number 1 volleyball team in the entire Metroplex, over Lucas Lovejoy, over Flower Mound, over Eaton, all those other schools. So Decatur is for real, and they, according to our writers, and they very well could be the best team in the Metroplex.
They're for real.
Yeah, and then you got to look at Kennedale too, who lost to Decatur in the semis. So Kennedale is right there with her. And then Gunter and Blum both made big runs last year. You kind of hear those names and you think, kind of football, but you can't sleep on their volleyball teams as well, and so we're not. But yeah, I think you bring up a good point. 1A through 4A is always hard to navigate because you're like, well, do you put a kind of a 1A, and I think for volleyball it's 1A and 2A play together, but do you put schools that low into the rankings? And absolutely, because you have to look at what they can do in their classification, and when you look at teams like Blum, they absolutely can compete in their classification. So, but Decatur, bar none, is going to be the team to look out for, like you said, in maybe not only in the 4A realm, but just in the DFW and state as well.
You heard it first. Those are the teams to watch out for. We're going to take it to our final ranking of today's show. It's DFW volleyball for private schools. Number 10 spot is McKinney Christian. 9 is Bishop Lynch. 8 is Heritage Christian. 7 is Pantego Christian. 6, Fort Worth Christian. 5, Trinity Christian. 4 is Red Oak Ovilla Christian. 3, Lake Country Christian. 2 is Carrollton Prince of Peace. And number 1 spot is Argyle Liberty.
Yeah, Argyle Liberty, Shayna. Sorry, Josh, you want to go ahead?
I was going to say, is there really any argument for Argyle Liberty not being the number 1? Because it seems pretty obvious to me, right?
Yeah.
I think so. In as many words, yeah, I think so. Look, Liberty has a phenomenal volleyball program, won a ton of state championships. They fell short last year, though, to the number 1 team in Houston, St. Agnes. So Liberty Christian, I don't know if I would call it a revenge tour, but they are ready to get that trophy back because they think that it's theirs, and so they want to go out. Because also we know this is why we play sports. They don't deserve it, but they feel like they do. You're not guaranteed it, but they feel like, hey, we have the team to go out and win the state championship. Now let's go earn it. Let's go show everybody else that we deserve that state championship. That is Argyle, by far the best private school team.
Just to correct you there, they beat St. Agnes, so St. Agnes is the one that's coming after them. Just a point of clarification that I didn't want to, we got to give the respect to Liberty Christian there. So they did beat St. Agnes 3-2 in the TAPS final there.
Did they?
So St. Agnes is the one.
I thought St. Agnes. Oh,
Nope.
I thought Agnes beat them.
Nope.
Yikes. Hey,
So,
this is.
yeah.
Thank you for the correction. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong.
Yeah. You got it.
I should have done my homework. I apologize.
I know,
I apologize to all the Argyle Liberty fans out there.
It's all good.
Wait, who won 2 years ago?
I don't.
St. Agnes. So
It could have been. I don't know.
Agnes won 2 years ago. Okay, yes, I think I got it right now. Agnes won 2 years ago over Liberty, and then Liberty beat St. Agnes last year. So that's kind of quasi a little rivalry that got building.
Yeah, either way, there's a little rivalry going on. Someone's going to come back for vengeance.
I'm Googling this. Let's see what the Google machine tells me.
All right, Google's going to tell us the facts.
Yeah, TCA, another interesting team in the Metroplex. We actually had their media day last year. So Trinity Christian, Addison, they got some players over there. They got some height. They have a lot of seniors on that team too. So I think TCA could be a sleeper. But they're also the same division as Liberty. So they're going to face each other a few times this year. So that could be interesting.
Yeah, we got a lot of great matchups coming up in the fall. We're looking at those.
Josh, is there anybody else who pops out for private school?
Let me take a look here at these rankings. I mean, I think Red Oak Avila. I mean, they were the tap. We mentioned them. We were talking about the Austin San Antonio realm. They were the state champs last year. Let me pull up my little notes here. So I think you got to watch out for them to maybe move up the rankings, give or take. But I think like we've been saying, it's really Argyle Liberty is the team to watch. And heck, who knows? Maybe we get that Argyle Liberty versus St. Agnes, round whatever it may be. They play each other quite a bit. I feel like so. So if I had to really say something, it's look out. I think we might be on a collision course for Argyle Liberty and St. Agnes again.
For sure. Well, we covered everything we needed to go through today. We covered all of volleyball for Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and Dallas for 5A, 6A, 1A through 4A, and private schools. Do y'all have any last thoughts before we close today's show?
Go for it.
I think
Pat.
I would just want to reiterate that the rankings are fluid. These are going to change constantly throughout the year. So that's why you got to tune in every single week as we check this out, and hopefully our set will not fall on us
Hopefully.
next time. Josh,
and
how about you?
spoiler, we might be in a different studio.
Yeah, low key, we might get kicked out of this room that we're in at the
Low-key.
moment. So
That's all right.
we will
Make it
try to
work.
figure out another solution to that problem.
Don't worry.
I will
We'll
still
be
be in
here.
this. I'll still be in this one because this is my house, so you can't kick me out.
There you go.
But no, I think next week, we'll see if these rankings change at all. Some of the regular season volleyball does start, so we won't penalize teams that don't play this week, but we may, hey, some teams that maybe performed well in their first week, we may, they may see a benefit in the rankings. And I think what you said was right. These rankings are fluid, so don't hate us too much. But hey, if we're wrong, or if you feel like your team was misrepresented, let us know, because we look at those things and we take those things into account. So next week we'll have kind of the week 1 of volleyball rankings and the preseason for football, because guess what? Football is already right around the corner. We are like 2 weeks, about to be 2 weeks away. So Friday will be 2 weeks away. I cannot wait. So stay tuned next week. We got a bigger and better show because we'll have football included as well.
I have a stat correction on myself. I
Go
said
for
2
it.
years ago, St. Agnes beat Liberty. St. Agnes beat Plano Prestonwood 2 years ago for the TAP 6A state championship, and then fell to Liberty last year. So there you go.
Getting our facts straight before we close it off.
I'm trying to do the viewership a service,
There you go.
and I kind of hit it. But I think that's our cue to get out of here.
It is. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us today. Again, stay tuned. Football is happening next week, and we're going to get more into volleyball next week. Again, I'm Taylor. This is Scott. And over there in Austin is Josh. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be here